Yo, what's up guys? The last few videos in Up Your Artifact game. This is gonna be a more practical one, going over units by element, talking about which artifacts would I put on which unit for RTA. It does also kind of translate towards Siege, but Siege is a little bit more different. I'm gonna use the same intro for all of the elements. So the thing I want to talk about, a few things. If I mention it, I might have already talked about it in another video. I'm not completely gonna repeat it, so maybe you have some questions afterwards, like, oh, why would you use this or that, or how does it work? Check the other videos, they're down in the description as well. Also, if I just call out or anything high efficient, which I might do pretty often, that means that multiple lines are useful for that unit with high efficiency. So just having, like, for example, super high crit damage skill 3 on the unit might not be the best, because you can also have some damage from good, damage from bad, or like crit damage from good, crit damage from bad, single target crit damage, those kind of things. So keep that in mind. Okay, so in this case, talking about the water one, again, if I don't talk about a unit, or if I miss any units, you will be like, hey, but you missed this unit, it's probably a bad unit for RTA, and therefore I just don't talk about it. Mina, it's not used that much for RTA, you see it here and there, it's more special league, but probably crit damage as 1, as 2, single target crit damage, like crit damage all the way, and I would probably not draft it into wind, and probably draft it into fire, so damage on fire is one of those things. Vigor is an interesting one, could use a lot of things, like crit damage as 3, crit damage as 1, recovery as 2, speed increasing effect, additional damage from speed HP. It's a pretty versatile unit, so I would say anything high efficient with multiple of those lines, and as least lines which are useless, those would be good things for him in general. Lulu, I would say recovery as 2, recovery as 3, recovery as 1, everything recovery, and then probably speed from lost HP on the other side with some reductions, maybe from wind or anything like that. Lucia, I would probably put 0 accuracy on her and fix all of the accuracy in the artifact of Aki S1, because S2 and S3 don't have an accuracy check, because S1 or S3 always works. So, and then probably recovery S2, then I would go into additional damage lines like speed and HP mostly. Nana, I don't really see her being used, but probably some Aki S2. And I don't know, no clue how you would bother. She's not that great. Shizuka's actually pretty interesting, because she's mostly used as a counter to bombers, Sierra, Gianna, that kind of stuff. So you could actually put an artifact, so you kind of want to have S3 on max Eki. You don't really need S1 on max Eki, so I would go Eki S3 in on her. But you can actually add bomb increasing, like bomb damage increasing effect on her, because she's mainly used against those things. She's not used as much at first. When she came out, we thought she was already really OP, but she's not that OP. More is super often used, and that's, you could go Eki S2, but I would mainly go for additional damage from speed, additional damage from attack, and that's the main thing. But an Eki S2, if you have low Eki, is pretty good as well. Hey gang, if you don't have max Eki on your S2, I would definitely go Eki S2. Besides that, on the left, there's not too many good lines for Heigang. You could try to add some additional damage from speed, HP, attack. If you have him crit rate, you can put crit damage lines on him. But besides that, he doesn't have too many crazy good lines for him. Barbara is one of those units you just want to make as much damage as possible. And if you use Barbara as a swift unit, try to get enough crit rate, but you could actually go crit rate slot 4 with additional crit rate from your artifacts, and therefore still do enough damage. Also, you could think about the idea to always go for the fire unit, and therefore do additional damage on fire. And you can, if you build this one on fire, which is actually a really good build currently as well, you can pretty much one-shot Junos with a lot of like additional damage on fire. You S2, you have a lot of crit damage, crit rate, everything. You just one-shot Junos with that. So this is just like pure adding damage. Belial is not used that much, but I would assume you go crit damage S2, single target crit damage. Maybe a specific element damage. Bolfric, you definitely go Eki S1 and recovery S3, and on the left side you probably want to add anything that makes you more tanky. Amelia, recovery S3, crit damage S2, and probably also left side anything that makes you more tanky. Josephine, Eki S1, Eki S2, but you could also go for like counter extra damage, which is not bad at all. Most Josephines are actually crit damage, so you could also go for the crit damage upping, but on the left side, maybe you could go some reduction from wind, because people tend to bring some wind units, but also like she's not that good in current meta. Amelia is an interesting one. I would go recovery S3 because her passive skill adds more recovery, and if you put more recovery, she has the more potential to do like the 1v1 like end game. Eki S1, Eki S2 are pretty good, and then probably some reduction effects on the left side. Anything that reduces like damage, elements, that kind of stuff. Molong is a pretty interesting one. So you could either go for additional damage lines, so additional damage from speed, HP, mainly HP probably. But you could also, a lot of people put them on Vampire right now, so you could add Life Drain. But another one which is really interesting is pure damage on light. Do a lot of damage on light, and that makes it that you can one-shot the Kakis, Ardemils, Jaegers, all of the kind of stuff with your S3 earlier than 70%. So my recommendation would be a combination of a lot of damage on light and then the other things. Pisama is probably, I would definitely say Eki S2, because if you reset AoE, it's really strong. But besides that, probably adding more crit damage. Attack increasing effect is actually also pretty good, because you kind of have, like AoE hits, S1 is a multi-hit, so attack increase, or attack from additional damage from attack is therefore also pretty good. Bastet, I'm not sure about Bastet, probably Eki S2. Additional damage from speed, additional damage from HP, that's about it for her. Poseidon is definitely one of those units I put on accuracy S3, because accuracy S3 is one of the things that matter the most. And besides that, anything that would add more damage to him, so crit damage lines. But also, if you would, mostly you run him pretty fast for like a cleave-ish setup, so additional damage from speed is not necessarily bad. Theomar's not really used. Alicia's not really used. Wusa. I would definitely say Eki S1. And besides that, it doesn't get much more crazy than that for Wusa. He's also not that good, mainly because, well, probably also because artifacts are not that good for him. Beth, anything additional damage is one of those cleave units, so I would not really recommend to use Beth. If you use Beth in like a cleave, it's just adding more damage on whatever line. Chandra is not used. Ariel is not really used, but I would go recovery S2, S3. Shiho is one of those units I wouldn't put anything in like crit damage kind of things. I would go everything on attack increasing, or no, additional damage by attack, additional damage by speed, and just up a lot of damage by that. He has a good amount of multi-hits on both his S2 and S3, because S2 is AoE. So anything multi-hitting is additional damage by speed, additional damage by attack, most likely. Chow, I would probably go recovery S3, crit damage S2, and then on the other side just reductions from like reductions of damage, or specifically damage on fire, because Chow is not that often used, but if you use Chow, it's probably against heavy fire teams, so then that could work. Annabelle, recovery S2, Eki S3, and probably some reductions as well. And this is one of those few units that most of the time the cleansers have some benefits from having speed from lost HP. Praha is an interesting as well, because you kind of want to do your S3 recovery, but I wouldn't focus that much on it. You could do S2 and S3 Eki, I wouldn't focus on that as much. It's really simple. Oracles S1, additional damage from speed, additional damage from HP. But you can also just go for all 4 lines, because defense and attack still add like a little bit as well. Theor is not really used that much. I would probably go Eki S3 and then rest crit damage stuff. Not used. Not really used, but in case you use it, I would up the Eki as much as possible. Not really used, but if you want to use it, I would go recovery S3 and probably additional speed from low HP. Suki is not used that much, but same for as for Kaki, I would just add like additional damage lines, so additional speed, additional damage from speed, additional damage from attack, those kind of things. Probably mostly from attack. Because he scales like extra attack in this one, so you have scaling on top of scaling, so probably additional damage from attack lines on Suki. Covenant is used here and there as like a double Nem will, and therefore you probably want to put like high crit damage S2 on him, that's about it. Tetra is used here and there, one of those units again, additional speed from low HP and recovery S3, Aki S1, those are pretty much as good as it gets for Tetra. Regal is used from time to time. I built one, it was actually kind of disappointing, it was not that good, but mostly it's vampire, so you can put like additional artifacts to life drain, but I would probably put additional damage from attack, additional damage from HP or speed or something on him to make him do more damage, therefore he also life drains more. Sion is used quite some, and this one's really simple. If you need it, Aki S2, but I would recommend to just fix Aki. It's just 35, it's pretty easy to do, and I would go high bomb damage. Both sides high bomb damage. So that's it for Water. Pretty short video, I think. Either how, going on to the next one, and will be released tomorrow, I think. So it will be a series of like one element per day until we have all 5 elements done. Maybe I'll do light and dark together, I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Either how, guys, thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with these. So maybe some of you will agree, disagree. If there's some that I will be like, oh yeah, that's actually better than what I said, then I'll like highlight these comments and that kind of stuff. So either how, guys, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.